There we go. Hi, everybody. Lisa Bowles here. We're a minute or so early. I'm just turning off the rest of my technology. So if somebody calls, they won't interrupt us. Bye-bye. Okay. Hi, y'all. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Hi, Bobby.
Hi, Lisa. Bernadette's here.
Okay. I'm going to turn on the chat. Oh, my goodness. Look at y'all. Oh, my goodness. Well, Lisa's here, and Carmen's here, and Bobby's here, and Jenny's here, and Julia's here, and Carol's. Oh, my God. Look at y'all. Oh, my gosh. Hi, everybody. Kelly, you're here. Janet's here. Sylvie's here. Susan, oh, my goodness. Y'all. What a sweet thing to see all your names and faces. I'm thrilled. Hi, hi, hi. Lots to cover today. Really quickly, because the main event, as you've heard, is the eclipse sandwich. So let me just get myself situated. Can y'all see me okay? Oh, wait. I meant to do one more thing before we proceed. I'm going to put my earbuds in so I make the recording sound a little bit less the whole environment. 1 second. And we shall proceed. Can everybody hear me okay? Type. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to mute everybody except myself. So I do the best I can to contain the amount of background noise. So between the headset and the muting, we should be good. I have lots of notes. So again, as usual, if I don't make eye contact, it isn't because I don't love you. I'm going to take these off because I can actually see better without them. Hi. I just want to say this right off the bat. Because I offered to look at the effects of this particular eclipse sandwich when I offered the SoulMap 6 last month, my eyes got a serious opening because the more research I was doing for the individuals who said yes to that, the more I began to realize how huge this is. So, you know, me opening my mouth and saying, I think you should probably do something and take a look at these things. Wow, am I ever glad I did. And to those of you who, you know, jumped up and said, yes, me, I want to say thank you for giving me a reason to do the research, because what I found for us is nothing short of jaw-dropping, because frankly, the more I looked at this, the more I realized this may be the astrological event of my lifetime. And I really don't say that lightly. There's other stuff coming, you know, really good stuff. And this one is going to change the direction for a few nations. And I'll tell you more about that as we dive into it. So please know I'm going to go rather quickly because I want to cover all the major backbeats. But the place where I'm going to go deep is with the eclipse sandwich. And I'm also going to pull in some of the beats that I cover quickly because they're affecting how they're contributing to and adding character and nuance to the eclipse sandwich and how we're going to be experiencing it. Okay? Bobby, can I ask you a favor, love? First, everybody, say hi to Bobby. She was away traveling last month, and we missed her. Laura stepped in, did a lovely job, always does. But Bobby, we missed you. Thank you for being back. Thank you, thank you. Bobby, if you could do me a favor, I'm going to try and remember at the end of every bit that I cover or at the front of it, I'm going to say time. So if you could check what time roughly in the recording, and now, so it's 4 minutes after the top of the hour now. So, you know, you can't look at the recording time, but if you could look at the clock where you are, and convert it to Eastern time when you send me your notes, then what I'm going to do what I've started to notice, y'all, is when I send out the podcast, I sometimes say, if you really want the deeper dive, go listen to live. A couple of people, thank you for your feedback, have said, if you could post a time during the hour, you covered that. So I don't have to go, you know, scroll through. And such a good idea. So Bobby, if I'm just going to try and remember and say time. If I don't, can you try and remember too? That'd be great. Thank you. Okay. So first things first, Bobby is going to pop in a whole bunch of background themes that we've been working with for quite some time. As always, the date ranges of when they began and when they'll end are included in all those notes. Okay. And that's all going to go into the chat. All right. So if you want to look at that, you can. And remember, we're going to be posting the chat with the replay so you don't have to, you know, get too weirded out about it. Okay? Thanks, Bobby. All this stuff is working in the background. It's adding its nuances. It always is. It's like the eddies and flows in the water, in a large body of water. I mean, okay? Let's take a look at August's themes, the big ones. Now remember, you know, I'm not going to cover everything for August. I'm going to talk about the most substantial right now, so you have time to kind of advance plan and get a feel for the context. Remember, the podcast will cover the smaller moves and the nitty-gritty stuff. So, what did I do? August 3rd. I'm calling this a shift storm, and then this one involves our benevolent rebel, otherwise known as Uranus, who goes retrograde in Aries and will stay there until January the 2nd of next year. Oops, I've got someone joining us and it's somehow taken the mute off. Okay, so August 3rd till January 2nd, 2018. Now, given the other things that are going on, this one's contribution should, and you'll understand more when we get in particular to the eclipse review, should make it easier for all of us to adapt to changing conditions. It's like we collectively looked down and went, whew, that's some big stuff, man. I think maybe we should help ourselves out a little bit. And that's what this is. It is help that will make it easier for us to adapt to change, to changing conditions inside us, to changing conditions outside us, to changing conditions. And it will encourage and compel many of us to actually seek out change. Okay? Which, like, when does that happen? For most of us, really. And even those of us who say, you know, I love change. Sure we do till it hurts. And then not so much. So, I want to suggest that you pay attention to your innovative instinct here. The drive to, you know, kind of break free of status quo. Because that's the instinct to pay attention to in terms of going in the direction of change, like actually seeking it out, whether it's uncomfortable or not, because that's likely to have the most positive outcome. I also want you to know that opportunities are likely going to rise up that will point you in the direction that's best for you. Opportunities that's likely going to move you forward on your purposeful path. The thing I want you to be careful of is this. Most of us think opportunities are, you know, they come with fairy dust and glitter or harps and trumpets and like they're really noticeable. These are going to be subtle. They might even appear ordinary. And so you are really going to have to gut check. Okay? All right? This wants to encourage the use of your intuition to the degree that it helps you develop your capacity to lean into it and use it reliably. Okay? It also looks like this one could shift us. Now, again, when you hear the eclipse review, you'll kind of like more. But help, this is help. Because this looks like it's going to nudge us towards and support a shift in mass consciousness, towards a more inclusive form of social democracy, and away from the extreme right stuff we've been seeing across the globe these last few years. Now, if you happen to be right-leaning, and you hear me say social democracy and everything in you goes like this, just breathe. Remember, defy status quo, okay? This shift will likely not be all that noticeable until after this retrograde is complete and the shadow period's over too. And the shadow period's substantial with longer retrogrades like this. So we're looking at, you know, spring of next year. That doesn't mean we're not getting nudged. That doesn't mean things aren't moving. It's just that it's not going to, so remember I said earlier, the opportunity might not be noticeable. It could be very subtle, same here. But that doesn't mean it's not happening, okay? The things to watch for, the indicators to watch for, less protectionism and more favor towards freer trade. But trade that takes colonial impact into account in some new ways. I'm more truly progressive, and I underscore that, truly progressive, because, honey, there's been a lot of progressives who've been, well, let's just say participating in the same tactics as those who would never say they're progressives, okay? But a more truly progressive and open-minded view of things like immigration, refugee status, and other social or human rights issues, okay? Those are the things to watch for. Now, the other thing that I want you to know, particularly for those of you who do healing work with other people, emotional, physiological, somatic, this stuff, this one could also, not could also, it will. It's a question of degree. Stir up old, deep karmic anxiety and concern around end of days stuff. Now, depending on your belief system, so this might be way out there for you, and if it is, just, you know, put it off to the side and come back in 2 minutes. A lot of folks believe that we carry ancient memory of collective experiences that didn't go well. Let's put it that way. And this is going to stir those remembrances. The other thing it's going to do is, and this is adjunct, it's related, but it's different, and I want to say that clearly. It's going to stir up mental health stuff. Now, I want you to know that this is going to call mental health medicine, traditional and non-traditional, into innovation and leaps forward in discovery. Because a lot of this, so either new mental health stuff is going to start showing up, or existing mental health stuff is going to get bigger. And I know most of us have loved ones who are already struggling, and me too. So when I read this, I just went, oh. But here's the reason why this is important. Much of what's going on, and much of what will go on, is going to force mental health medical models to make leaps of discovery, because they won't know how to meet the needs. They're going to have to think outside the old frameworks. They're going to have to think outside the ways they deliver services, the way they provide, like all of it, from traditional thinking, which isn't really all that old when you think about it, and traditional, okay? There could be more blending. So there's a discovery impulse in this, and it's sitting right smack dab in the middle of mental health medicine. And there could be some rediscovery. So the old and the new blending. If you are someone who practices or offers a kind of mental health support or mental health healing that blends old and new, ancient and scientific, wowza. Okay? Like wowza. All right. Next one, time. My friend Bobby. I have 114. August the 14th, or the 4th, 14, 114, August 14th, August the 4th. This one we've seen before. There's a backbeat of this. So when you look at the backbeats of things that we've been dealing with for a while, this is the third and final peak of something we've experienced before. Succeed come hell or high water. It's our fortune finder, Jupiter, in that third of three peak partnerships with our transformer Pluto. We talked about this before, but in light of everything else that's going on, I want you to pay particular attention because it's going to matter. This one makes us want to succeed individually and collectively. Nations, companies, like across the board. We're going to want to succeed, and we're going to want to succeed big time. It could be a purposeful project. It could be your vocation in general. And it comes with an intense drive to reach the top. To not just succeed, but to be outstanding. Success, influence, and an increase in power, and that's an important word this month, are all possible. But we're also going to be dancing with the old notions of what those things are or what they require. All of us, not just the folks who just, barrel, but the rest of us who bump into the word power and go, oh, success. Yeah, but I'm only going to do it a certain way. So we're wanting to excavate and see what our stuff is around power, influence, and success. If there's ruthlessness involved, if there's greed involved, if there's corruption involved, even just whoosh. And those folks who, and this is going to be amplified because of the eclipse stuff, those folks who lean in without checking, who are not terribly self-aware and who are kind of driven by ruthlessness rather than driven by the desire to and we talked about this last month, sacred ambition. That difference matters. The personal life is the place where the effects are going to be felt first and most, if people blunder. Okay? The other thing I want to say is I'm expecting, and just so you know, I'm leaning into this one substantially for all kinds of reasons. But an increase in financial flow, increase in financial wealth, personal, professional, corporate, is very, very possible, provided you maintain a high moral standard. So if you deviate from purpose or you shift out of congruency, occupy the drive, stand in sacred ambition, be ambitious. But you got to go with your codes. Okay? This could also do a lot of shifting around spiritual or religious frameworks. I'm expecting to see some really interesting stuff happen there. Okay? Again, ripples for quite some time. Sylvia, honey, this also comes with a big travel boost. And, defy the status quo, shift out of your current thinking, innovation kind of stuff. I'm thinking about you. Just wanted to say. Yeah. So time, 1:18, Bobby, Eastern. August the 10th. Opportunity and expansion floodlights. Whew. Our force of nature, the sun, teams up with our fortune finder, Jupiter. And this one, so think about this. We have a peak on the 4th and then this shows up. This one opens the doors to optimism, massive increases in optimism, massive potential, like just a slipstream of happiness Like, people are just going to feel happy for no particular reason. And the prospect of good fortune. Now, whether you believe in fate or free will, destiny, luck, let's take the frameworks out, okay? What this essentially means is that it turns up the dial for each and every one of us in terms of our attraction factor for good fortune. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that gold coins are going to drop from the sky, but what it does mean is that opportunities will kind of just open all over the place, particularly in relationship to your goals, your purposeful goals. Okay? There is the spirit of growth and expansion is very alive, and it's, you know, the light of the sun is just going, wow. People who might be in a position to help you will be looking for you. It'll be like they're looking for you or looking for opportunity to help you. They'll be much more magnanimous, likely. Yeah, I mean, it could just, so if you're looking for sponsorships or a mentor, or you've been wanting to reach out to someone with a sizable platform and have them allow you to write a blog post, a sponsored post for their blog or something, or their magazine, this is a good time to reach out. I would do the research about how best to do that, make sure it's congruent with you, but whoosh, okay? Really good stuff. Now, the growth experience that I'm talking about could be spiritual or material or a combination of both, okay? It does tend to hit bottom line, so financial, you know, increase, wealth increase is very, very possible. But again, you got to be congruent. Remember about the moral standard we talked about with the other one? Same here. Now, this is going to take that drive to succeed and like, okay. Okay. It also favors group activities. So teams, companies, corporations, nations, I'm even going to say communities, whether those are virtual or actual, towns. Okay? Okay. Time, 1:22 Eastern. August the 12th. I'm calling this one Trust and Relating and Money Making. Can you tell there's a theme? This one has some interesting twists, though. It involves our communication savant, Mercury, who's going into retrograde that day. That's right, people. We have a retrograde this month. In fact, you're in the shadow right now. So start backing up your data on your website, on your database, your computers, your mobile devices, your tablets, and then check the backups are working, that they worked. Because what happened to me 1 year is we did the backups, thought we'd done beautifully, and then after Mercury happened, retrograde happened, we had to run into a little bit of a snag. We went to the backup and oh my goodness, it didn't take. Whoopsie daisy. So check your backups too. So Mercury goes into retrograde in Virgo. He'll be there from August the 12th to September the 5th. All right. Now, this is a particularly significant Mercury retrograde. And it could lead to major changes in two key areas of life: your love life or matters of love, which can apply to our work, right? And finances, money, okay? But in order for those changes to be positive and relatively bump-free, you have to be dealing in trust and strong connections of genuine relating, communication. So trust and relating and money making could be very high, provided the love is genuinely there, there's real connection and real trust for good reason, and the connection and communication is Hamana, hamana. Okay? All right. Now, there are some background players while this is going on. And by the way, this does add to the eclipse thing, and I'll review some of the pieces of that when we get there. What's really interesting is that there's an influence about just minutes before this begins. Our charisma of cause partners with our inner guru, Venus and Saturn. And that partnership, just minutes before this begins officially, I want you to carry a notebook around, because there could be profound flashes of original insight that brings very positive change forward. And as you click, like, notice opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise seen. Okay? That will be stable, that will have long-term effect. So please carry a notebook that day. Okay? That day is the 12th of August. Okay? All right. Now, if trust is frayed, if the relating is, it has been bumpy, that stuff will get exacerbated by this. If communication has been unclear, even though you didn't really understand that, you thought you were clear, but it's obviously not getting through clearly, those are the places where things are going to get particularly bumpy. Okay? And if you experience that, or your clients experience that, I just want to say this right now. It's not a good time for making major plans or decisions. It's not. Wait until the retrograde's passed. Okay? Know that all this other change juju is like, it's going to be cooking for a while. You're not really going to miss on anything. But so for example, if you have to sell a house, if you have to, consult with someone like me, because your stars may say something that there's particular moments when it's good for you. Okay? Consult, please. Otherwise, okay, particularly if in a relationship it's bumpy, communication-wise, trust-wise, like, just, all right? Now, the thing that's really interesting about this, and so this is it's not a need to know, but I just thought you should know. This Mercury retrograde begins at the same degree. So in each chunk of the big birth chart, the SoulMap, each house has 30 degrees. Yes? Well, the solar eclipse that takes place August 21st happens at the very same degree this takes place at, which means this retrograde is partnering with and amplifying our eclipse sandwich effects. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to skip the full moon, lunar eclipse, new moon, solar eclipse until the very end, because I want to dive deeper in there. So we're going to skip, we're going to go forward. August 25th, time is 1:27, 1:28. August 25th, our inner guru, Saturn, the king of karmic return, is leaving retrograde. He's been there for a good chunk of time, months. So, whenever Saturn goes retrograde, he does so to bring us inside, because all retrogrades are internal. They have external, stuff, but they're really internal. Whenever Saturn goes retrograde, our inner guru, he wants to show us the areas of our life that need development. Personality into character, shifts in behavior and belief, like the places where the structures and laws we live by in here that either enhance or hamper our development, our evolution, where those need development, where they need attention, where they need work. It also wants to help us tune into whatever area of responsibility that we need to develop or we have been developing that's particularly important. To take stock, to review, to make sure things are in order, etc., etc. So when he's in retrograde, we can feel kind of tested because we're actually trying to develop. Like if you go into a gym, you're not going to tone your muscles by standing there watching somebody lift weight or work with tension bands or whatever. So it may feel like, why is this happening? But that's the equivalent of going into the gym and working with, you know, the tension bands or the small 5-pound dumbbells so that you can tone and develop your muscles. That's what this is. So here's why this is important to talk about. In the scope of everything else that's going on, he's been preparing us to be much more attuned to and aware of and have worked on places that we needed to be responsible and develop ourselves. And so those places, so you might just kind of scan over what's been going on the last 6 months or so. I already know where mine have been and are. And those are the places where when he begins to go forward again, when he leaves retrograde, those are the places where opportunity is very, very likely, provided you move forward with the intention to continue to develop, because our inner guru really likes humility and continued devotion and responsibility. Yeah, I'm going to be responsible for this. Okay? Kind of a big deal. Okay. Last one before we dive into the eclipse sandwich, and time is 1:31 Eastern. August 27th. Jupiter, our fortune finder, teams up with our inner guru, who will have left at this point retrograde. And these two will be dancing together, and this effect will continue on until September the 10th. Okay, so August 27th till September the 10th. And if I was going to call this something, I'd call it cautious expansion. Because Saturn, our inner guru, is like thoughtful, mindful expansion. Okay? There will be opportunities for growth. And if you bring really sound evaluation, discernment, and only choose those that are actually right for you, right for your work, right for your business, right for you personally. And these are going to tend to focus in work and career, business. Could be really big deal, because what our inner guru offers our fortune finder is stability and longevity. So expansion, things could expand, but like a balloon, they can collapse really quickly when the outer skin gets punctured. But what our inner guru offers is continued stability. It doesn't mean expansion is going to continue on forever, but what gets expanded, what does grow, will likely be sustainable and long-lasting. Okay? Now, we're going to need to lean in. We're going to need to be perseverant. We're going to need to, kind of roll up the sleeves and give elbow grease and stuff. But you're more likely to succeed, okay, in a grounded, practical way. Okay? If you're in investments, particularly business investing, that wants to bring stability to fields and industries that are cutting edge, they're all about expanding both the mind and opportunity in ways that are, different and often socially oriented, take care of everybody, or the people that don't get taken care of. This is a particularly good time for you. Particularly good time for you. Making deals or looking for funds for ventures that are social enterprise oriented. Okay? It's also a really good time to start a savings plan, buy a house, or start a business. Just want you to know. Again, consult with someone like me if you want to get absolutely nitty-gritty perfect dates, but okay? Now, let's look at that eclipse. It is 1:34, Bobby, Eastern time. Again, this really is a once in a generations kind of thing. This kind of eclipse sandwich, and I'll tell you why I call it a sandwich in just a minute. We haven't seen one of these in the United States of America, because this has particular importance for the United States of America. And for the rest of the world, because of the world's relationship with the United States of America. We haven't seen an eclipse sandwich like this in 99 years. And we're not going to, again, like this, for more than 250 years. So this is a very big deal. That's why I say this could very well be the biggest astrological event of my lifetime, your lifetime, our lifetime. So let's first take a look at the full moon on August the 7th. I'm going to talk about the full moon itself a little bit. And then I'm going to talk about what the eclipse brings to it. Okay? Again, now a full moon is very powerful emotion, and it touches in on emotions. This is our emotional intelligence, very, very active, and at one of its 2 monthly peaks. So you take one of those and you add the eclipse and chihuahua. With this particular full moon, so let's just talk about the full moon itself. Because of the other things that are going on around it, it is amplifying that drive for personal success and making it an emotion, like we're going to have an emotional investment in succeeding. We're going to have an emotional investment in succeeding. So it isn't just, I want that, it's all heart, baby. Now, if that's coming from hurt, and if I have this, then I'll have that. And not in a bad way so much as it affords you the opportunity over the next 6 months to touch those places of hurt and retrieve yourself. So for those of you who bump into that, and those of you who work with clients who will be bumping into it, I want you to know that the next 6 months could be enormously potent in terms of retrieving ourselves from unprocessed or incomplete process of hurt around needing to succeed so we'll finally have whatever. And whatever we think that will give us emotionally, okay? Flip that over. This is going to invest, so if what you're attempting to succeed at is purposeful, and you've done a lot of healing work around it, so that you're really abiding in sacred ambition, the drive will be amplified. And because this coincides with an eclipse sandwich, normally you'd only really be hanging out with this for about 2 weeks. But because of the eclipse, we're gonna be hanging out with this for 6 months. Now think about all the other things that we talked about. Oh. Okay? Now on the flip side, those of us with hurt, those who are less self-aware, you know, we talked earlier about greed and ruthlessness and all that other stuff. This is gonna it's very likely it will amplify those things in the less than self-aware, because it wants to prompt a transformation. Because what they're really aiming for is happiness. You know, when you look at the whole thing, what this says is we're aiming ultimately for happiness. It's just that our ideas of what that is and how to feel it are very different. And we're wanting to have an emotional transformation around what that actually means, how to actually experience it, how to get there. And how, for many of us in the West, that's been tied into professional success. Okay? Now, the other thing I want you to know, because this is tied in with the eclipse, this is going to have tremendous influence over human affairs this next little while, and will bring opportunities for considerable change in areas like climate and political customs, leadership, particularly political and enterprise. And with those, that last one, leaders, looking at the rise and fall in power. Okay? The chances of success, if we really stand in, healthy, emotional drive, sacred ambition, are really substantial. The chance of success increase in financial stability and happiness, really big, like really big. So I wanted you to know that, so you could occupy that day really well. Now, here's what I also want you to know, because that's just a piece of the story. Eclipses are substantial in what I do. Not all astrologers look at them the way that I do, and that's because eclipses set a piece of our purpose. The lunar and solar eclipses that precede our date of birth actually are one of the biggest places where purpose indicators come from. But the thing that's really interesting about them is that those eclipses touch all of us. So it makes us part of a purposeful soul group too. That piece of our purpose is shared. We're part of a group working towards X or Y, whatever you want to call it. This is why we have marketplaces that are soul congruent. So when I'm looking for information about your niche, when I'm doing a SoulMap, I look at your eclipses, because the people you serve are the people who are attempting the same things you are and may need your help. If you are, as most of us who are really working on things, are a few steps ahead. If we've been working on self-awareness and consciousness and transformation, and we can turn back to our group members and go, let me help you, so we can all move forward and get this done. When I look at them, because what they do is they happen at opposite sides, because the moon's over here on one side of your map, and the sun, because those are the two major players in eclipses, is directly across, kitty corner, right over there. And it lights up two houses along an axis, A-X-I-S, an axis. And the whole axis line lights up. And it's the combined character of those two that actually also tells us what's going on when a major eclipse like this happens. So all the people that are going to be born shortly after this are going to have this stuff going on. That means it's going to be a big part of their purpose. But for us right now, it tells us what this eclipse wants to activate along that axis. Okay? So I'm going to tell you about the axis, because I looked at it relative to the SoulMap for the United States of America, and there's a particular reason why, and I'll talk about that in a second, and the SoulMap for Canada. I happen to live there. Because it really matters. I could do maps for every country in the world. It would take me forever, and if you want me to map your nation, get in touch and we'll talk Turkey, okay? But here's why I just told you what I told you. Because this solar eclipse, August the 21st, it takes place in Leo, on the new moon, is such a big deal. Again, we haven't seen this in 99 years, and we're not going to see it exactly again this way for another 254. So that's part of why it's a big deal. The other reason why it's a big deal is because it will be visible by the people of the United States of America from coast to coast. That's why 99 years and 254 this way. It's not the only reason why, but it's a substantial reason why. The people of the United States of America are receiving the full whoosh of this eclipse sandwich, and in particular the solar eclipse. And that really means something. So we're going to talk about this in general terms, and then we're going to look at the access piece, the purposeful piece for the United States, and then for Canada. Because a lot of the people tuning in here are Canadian, or they happen to live in the United States, but they were born in Canada. So if you haven't had a chance to see the pictures of the path of the eclipse, you might want to go check that out. You might want to go check the times. Because if you happen to live close to the path, if you don't already know, you might want to go see if you can watch it. So here's the broad and general strokes. Again, bold, confident change and support for long-term success if you're willing to invest determined and sustained purposeful effort. Okay, it's a great time for fresh starts, and makes the setting of new goals really important because, again, the influence of this, because of, it is a new moon, but because of the eclipse, the effect lasts for 6 months. Okay? It suggests that there will likely be rapid bursts of interest in your goals, activity around your goals, an increase of excitement, anticipation, initiative, enthusiasm. Yeah, okay? So that's the new moon and a little bit of the dust that the eclipse is casting on it. Now let's look closer at the actual solar eclipse and what it brings. Yeah, this is before I get into the axis stuff, okay? This is just the eclipse itself. Again, exciting energy, an increase in ambition, an increase in initiative, the drive to start new ventures, a deeper connection with power. Because this happens in Leo. We've got a solar eclipse, a full solar eclipse crossing the entire United States of America in Leo. This will enable you to, so here's one of the things I'm going to be watching really quick, appearance. So one of the things that Leo and Leonine character lends us is appearance, the attractiveness and the charisma of appearance. And not false charisma, but just, if someone who has a lot of Leo energy in their map walks into a room, everybody kind of like goes, wow, who's that? It's like that. This will afford you the opportunity to shift your appearance so that you bring that kind of to your presence and or the presence of your work or your business. It will allow you to stand out without efforting. It will allow you to, really, like, think of a lion. You kind of just go, wow, majestic. This will also draw forward higher self-awareness, increased intuition, flashes of insight that will lead to self-discovery and revelations about you in relationship to your purposeful goals and your sacred ambition. It's going to support goals around sacred ambition. Because Leo energy really is about purposeful living. I mean, it's one of the few signs that really goes, so what are you here for? If you're the king of the jungle, what are you here for? You're here, where are you supposed to lead? Let's help you out with that. It's also an extraordinary solar eclipse to change destructive or outdated behaviors like prejudice and addiction. So, Think back to some of the things I talked about earlier. And that's for us as individuals, but it's also for us in general. And again, this focus is on the United States of America. So excellent, excellent, excellent high-level support for the changing of destructive and outdated behaviors, and in particular, prejudice and addiction. It also brings to life a strong desire to achieve and succeed together. And break bad habits, the kind that hobble us, get in our way. It will reveal new interests that will replace whatever attention went to those things in a healthy way. It will encourage support and make easier the leaving of comfort zones. The heart of the lion will be alive in many, many people. It will make us daring. It will make us brave. It will make us bold. It will make us, widening your social circle, but building family. So think about prides and lions. You know, they travel together. They remain a family. So widening the social circle, but doing so in a way that creates family, holds family together. It also encourages the meeting of different family and the taking in of what you see without feeling like that threatens your family or theirs. Sylvia. Okay. All right. Now let's get into the access thing. And again, I want to say thank you to those of you who said yes to the offer I made last month. It's because you said yes, I had reason to go look really deeply at this for you and saw I need to share this with everybody. So when I am looking at purpose, when I'm doing somebody's soul map, I look, it's one of many things I look for, but this is one of the major players. And it lights up the mastery map in particular. So, access, kitty corner, lights up 2 houses and tells the story of purpose for that. Now, when this happens, because this hasn't happened for 99 years and because we're not going to see it again exactly this way for another 254, what this means for the United States of America is the beginning of a new chapter. Okay? And I mean that. This is the beginning of a new chapter. This sits along the axis of perception and expansive growth, okay? And it means it's time to expand beyond the frameworks of the national mind. It will challenge it. So it says, you want growth? Okay, let's go. Expansive growth. Okay, even better. Let's be bold. Let's grow. But in order to do that, you have to see your place in the world differently. You have to look at your beliefs about who you are, who you think you are. You have to look at how you educate yourself. You will probably need to up your education and up your knowledge of your place in the world. This will plant a seed of ripeness for the kind of self-revelatory information that will dramatically alter the perceptions the United States of America holds about itself. And you as citizens, either you were born in the United States and or you currently live in the United States and its territories, this pertains to you too, because you are a cell in that body. Okay? You can contribute to it, you can foster it, you can support it. It's a big deal. So essentially, it dangles a carrot. It says, you want growth and expansion? Awesome. Let's go look at what you think about yourself. Why you think the way you think. Why you believe what you believe. Let's go examine that. And let's challenge it. If you think you know all you need to know, prepare to be surprised. This eclipse sandwich, this axis, intends to shake up the mental frameworks, the mental circuitry, so that your perceptions and worldview, as it pertains to yourself as a nation and your place in the world, can grow. Old ways of thinking aren't going to get you there. Many of us already know that. But, okay, it will change also, likely, the way the nation communicates with itself and beyond its own borders. You'll have to. It also asks that the nation step outside itself and say hello to its neighbors and say, so tell me about me. I've been telling you about me for a while. I want to hear you tell me about me. And, don't beat around the bush, because I really want to hear. Now, that may take a while, but that's what will get planted in the United States of America and its people with this eclipse. Okay? Now, along with this goes a call and a support for adaptation to everyday environments and the need to adapt those environments. It also means learning to and support for adaptation to rapidly changing circumstances. Okay? Here's the other thing I want you to know. If you happen to know this really pertains to you, this really does mean a new chapter for the United States of America, like along the lines of 1776. It also means that you are going to become introspective. So this withdrawal from the leader of the free world is actually appropriate, because your focus needs to be on you for a while. Not on your place in the world, not on the way that it has been. Okay? Now, I know that if you look at what's been happening since a certain individual assumed the office of the president earlier this year, you're probably going, but this has been going on a while. Mm-hmm. It has. Because this has been rumbling. This is a big deal. Hasn't happened for 99 years. Won't happen again for 254. You've been feeling this for a while, and this has been building to this. Okay? And the call to be insular, to kind of withdraw, I know because of where it comes from, and trust me, I really had to sit with this myself. Because of where it comes from can have a lot of us grieving and ticked off and judgmental and filled with criticism. And given this, it's actually good for you. So you get to stand in this, and you get to tell other people, that there's a way to stand in this that can empower what's happening, now that you know what the context is. Because the opportunity for you to see yourselves anew and start a new chapter, a really rich, gorgeous new chapter, kind of a big deal. Look what happened since 1776. Imagine the possibilities of a new chapter. It just means that the first few pages of that chapter, bumpy. Okay? So, the reason why I also looked at this for Canada is because when I was doing know that it's going to come over the next few days. Oh, my internet connection's a little wonky. Can you all hear me okay again? Okay. So, when I was doing the map preparation, I was mapping for folks from the States and folks from Canada. So I looked at this for both, and I'm really glad that I did. attempted to look at other nations, but I didn't have any, particular reason to do that. I started to look at the UK because of Brexit, but I haven't finished my look. The reason why this is important for other nations, particularly nations in the West, but not exclusively, is because this new chapter is beginning for the United States of America, and because it's undergoing this introverted, kind of withdrawal for a little while, that opens the doors. So our relationship to all of this as other nations means that looking at this through that lens is important for us too. We need to go look at our national axis to see the character of its effect on us and our national purpose and how that will touch us. Because it might change the way you proceed in terms of business decisions you make, marketing decisions you make, okay? It may mean new opportunities, and that's what I saw for Canada. So in Canada, this particular eclipse sandwich sits on the axis of self-identity and partnering. So we're kind of going through something similar, but in a different way. This asks us to grow beyond the familiar frameworks of identity and how we engage in partnership and what it takes to express our identity through partnership. It says that our nation is ready to express a new way of being in the world and experience in ways we never have before the evolutionary impact of others in our life and ours in others' lives. It's about independence and interdependence, of how to go your own way and coexist at the same time. It's about how we see ourselves versus how others see us. So it's similar but different. If we're at odds with another, we're going to want to work towards reconciliation, but not to the detriment of our own identity and values. Okay? So when I look at what's going on for the United States of America and our relationship to it, both as leader of the free world previously and our biggest trading partner, our biggest economic partner, because we followed the lead. And this says, new partnerships. If that is changing over here, what happens over here? And the reason I say this for Canadians is because this opens the possibility of international marketplaces in ways that we've probably never seen before, provided we lean in and do the work of really solidifying our sense of identity and working well in terms of bringing that identity to our partnerships and learning how to be independent and interdependent well. So this nation will be asking itself, is my style, my approach, does it really reflect who we are? How is it working? How is it helping? Where is it not? And it's not just partnering outside, but it's partnering inside. And for us as Canadians, that's kind of a big deal because we have a terrible, tragic and shameful relationship with our First Nations people. So that's a good place for us to start. We're going to be jostling around for identity. We're going to be trying new stuff on, all kinds of things. But this implies a shift into partnership-oriented leadership and a stronger sense of identity. It suggests bold moves, courageous acts on behalf of our own sovereignty and liberty, but on behalf of others, provided there's partnership. It's kind of a big deal. It's very much a big deal. Now, for those of you in the United States, I want you to know that this means the Canadian marketplace could become very, very active for you. If you haven't thought about it before, I want to suggest you start thinking about it. Because to the same degree that the United States has been seen by many of us as a marketplace, I want you to start considering Canada a really active and thriving marketplace. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Anybody got any questions? Because we covered an awful lot of ground today, a lot of information today, but I want to just touch in, see if anybody's got, and maybe people popped questions into the chat. No? Okay. Anybody got any questions right now they'd like to ask? Or y'all just kind of, oh, good for Canada. Said as an American. Yeah, Jenny. It's good for the United States too. It's just a different kind of good. I wanted you to have that context so you would understand what was happening, why it was happening, and how you could work with it effectively. Does that make sense to everybody? 'Tis a far, far better place I go. I'm going to pop in the background here, so if anybody wants to make notes on the questions and answers. Okay, thanks, Bobby. Oh, you're adding the extra stuff. Okay, thanks. There's so many people that are tired right now, exhausted, having reactions to healings. Yep. Well, so I want to say the tired to some degree is because our how do I say this really well? This is such a good question because it's going to amplify with the solar eclipse sandwich, with the eclipse sandwich. Fatigue is an indication that caring for oneself in the ways that are required. So two things. Caring for oneself in the ways that are required so that your effort and response is sustainable and coming from a place of sovereignty. If you're really fatigued, getting close to burnout, that's asking you to look at that. You know, how am I engaging with this in ways that are not healthy and sustainable for me? Where am I not sovereign here? And that means it's a good time to go do some work. Or maybe go do some different work if you've been working on it for a while. The second thing, and I've actually been chatting with a lot of people about this recently, because the folks who've been saying that more than any other, and I'm just going to say this out loud, I mean, no offense, is the white folks among us. And I'll tell you why, because we expect that if we jump in with both feet, and many of us have been these last few months, that we expect. So it kind of goes along with our ideas about transformation. We expect change fast. And so when we throw ourselves in, we throw ourselves all in. We overextend. And we have expectations of rapid return, which is an unsustainable way of engaging. And as white folks, we need to go pay very close attention to people of color and how they have been how they have learned and taught one another and supported one another in engaging efforts for change in a way that is more balanced, more healthy. And not to say that there aren't some unhealthy people engaging from those different communities. I don't mean to suggest that at all. But on the whole, their approach is more balanced. And they're very aware, long-term, it takes more time. So we're bumping into expectations and assumptions and going, wait a minute. That and the fact that our buckets are empty after 5 or 6 months because we're overextending ourselves. So we're tipping over. And the two things combined are a call to go look and see and really cultivate the capacity to be actively engaged from a more sovereign place that is more solid and upright. Does that help? That was Linda. Okay, the next American adventure begins. Yes, ma'am. Exactly. Any tips for standing in the energy that's unfolding in the US? Carol asked this question. Wow. I could say so much. It really depends on you, honestly. I'm going to say it depends on your purpose. It depends on your makeup. It depends on your current state of progression in your own work. So as individuals, I honestly, I would say begin with you. As always, begin with you. And I would also suggest that for all of us, because this is particularly important for the United States of America and its peoples, no two ways about it, but we've been talking about shifting into a new paradigm all over the place for years now. I think without understanding what that actually meant, what it was going to take, what it involves, how long it actually takes. And the fact that it means that the living a new story. I want to point everyone in the direction of some really good material offered by a guy by the name of Charles Eisenstein. Many of you may already know who he is. He was, an interview with him was recently featured on Super Soul Sunday with Oprah. Because he's as over here as many people get. And Oprah read a piece he wrote shortly after the election in the United States, and she went, okay, I think I need to talk to this guy. Then got his book, and I can't remember the title of it. If anybody knows the title of the most recent book, pop it in the chat. I want to suggest you go look, because we're really attempting to help ourselves leave an old story and start a new one. That's why, you know, this new chapter for the United States, you know, you're writing a new story. You're bringing in the pieces from the first chapter that matter, that stay, that count, that need to carry on with you. But you're also teaching yourself how to tell a new story, how not to be limited by the story you've told. Okay? So if I was going to say collectively a place to go, I would go read Charles Eisenstein's book. And I would turn to each other, you know, share tips, talk about what's working for you in case it's of service to somebody else. We're in this for the long haul. But we've known that, right? We've known that. Given the fact that this next chapter, particularly for the folks of the United States of America, is, you know, it's 254 years, you know, we may not see the changes we're working for in our lifetime. But that doesn't mean the work isn't worth doing. That doesn't, because that's why we're here. So, and think about the stuff it said for us personally. The opportunities for success personally are still really substantial. The thing that excites me about that is that means that your purposeful work, if you lean in and learn how to do the deep work and the business work, that means that you could move forward and have greater impact. So here's the next, another piece to this, the answer to this question. Choose to say yes to your sacred ambition. Choose to say yes to that drive. Choose to be successful. Because the impact you could have on this amplifies. And there's all kinds of boosts for it right now, coming from all kinds of directions. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's not going to be work. It doesn't mean there's no risk involved. There's risk for everybody who starts or furthers a business. But this country, many countries in the West, were really founded on enterprise. The rules and cultural norms of enterprise is where our culture comes from. You stand to be an agent of cultural change by saying yes to the call to succeed. Because you could change how business gets done, how money gets made. One person here, one person there, one person there. If there's thousands of us, that's a wave. I hope that helps. Let's go scroll down, see if there's any more questions. Seeing with the eyes of truth. Thank you for that link, Marilyn. Charles Eisenstein's interview is in the chat now. Okay. We've gone over time. Thank you, thank you, thank you for continuing to hang out. This is, you know, it's a big month, August, arguably the biggest event of the whole year. And I really am thinking that this is the biggest astrological event of my lifetime. I'm going to keep watching, and if I find out I'm wrong, I'll let you know. But I wanted to bring this information to you because I believe we need to know this. I believe we need to know it so we can lean in together. So we can lean in independently, so we can lean in together, so that we have a better sense of what we're up to, what we're working towards, and how we're hoping to help one another do that. I want you to know where the opportunities are. I want you to know when they are. And I want you to have the information you need so you can meet them more successfully. Because it matters. Thank you, my friends, for being pioneers, for standing on the frontier. You know, sometimes it's really lonely, scary, freaking work. And it can feel very alone. I want you to know I see you. I want you to know I feel you. I want you to know I'm with you. I'm here with you. Please don't stop. Please reach out. Please touch each other. Please support one another. And know that I'm in your corner and I'm cheering for you in every way imaginable. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Bobby, for all the great note-taking and all that stuff. Thank you for your questions, everybody. The only other thing I want to say to you is share this one, please. If you know people who you think need to know this, give them the link to this replay in YouTube when it comes out tomorrow, okay? Please. Because I think there's a lot of people who need to know about this. Don't you? So please share. Let them know. If they want to continue with us as a community, you know, cool, have them get in touch with me, but it's not mandatory. I just want this particular live to get in the hands of everybody it's most affecting in the United States and Canada. Okay? Bye, everybody. I'm going to unmute us all. Be prepared. There could be a lot of feedback. I want you to say hi.
Bye, Lisa. Thank you. We love you.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Thank you.
We're going back here in a month. Take good care. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everyone.